There are many heroes that tons of people just play wrong, whether it's a lack of knowledge or skill. In this video, we're going to be covering 3 heroes that you play wrong and going over some tips to play them better. Christmas is right around the corner, and here at GameLeap, we have a present for you. You can use code SANTA for 50% off your GameLeap subscription. And not only that, if you sign up during this Christmas season, you will have a chance to win a VOD review from one of our top coaches. We will be picking 10 random GameLeap subscribers, so make sure you sign up today if you want to improve now. Okay, the first hero we are going over is Doomfist. With Doomfist, your main goal is to charge up your punch with your block and then punch a squishy into the wall, finish them off with your primary fire, then get out as fast as you can. When people play Doomfist, they'll usually just charge into the enemy team with their seismic slam and then use their block in the middle of the enemy team, and this is generally bad. With the recent changes to Doomfist's punch cooldown, you should almost always be using your punch to engage into the enemies. Since it only has a 3-second cooldown, it means that you can just punch into an enemy, use your block in front of all of the enemies, and by the time the block's duration runs out, your punch will be off cooldown again. And hopefully you've charged up your punch with your block so you can go for a pick. If you find that you need to reposition or leave the fight at all after your block, you can just punch out, or you can use your seismic slam to reposition onto a high ground to use your punch to actually target a squishy. The second most important part about Doomfist's kit is his primary fire. Whenever you are neutrally fighting enemies, you want to just be primary firing any big enemy to get that ultimate charge up. You also want to get really good with actually punching enemies into the wall and then following up with your primary fire on them, kind of like you would with a Roadhog hook, except for it's the reverse. You're punching into them and then shooting them close up. You never really want to be using your seismic slam to deal damage, as it only does 50 damage, so it's not really worth wasting it to damage enemies unless you need to reposition onto the high ground or onto an enemy with it. Most of the time though, you're going to be using your seismic slam into the air and then canceling it by charging up your punch and then hitting an enemy into the wall and catching them off guard that way. And finally, his ultimate is now a lot stronger with his recent patch, and it gives him a fully charged punch if it hits any target. When you are using Doom's ultimate, you want to be using it quickly. Try and pick a target before you actually use your ultimate, like a squishy support. Then as soon as you use it, go straight to that target and drop down as fast as you can. If you don't, you give the enemies time, and that allows them to prepare while you're in your ultimate. It allows for cooldowns to come off, so make sure that you are doing it as fast as you can so that you can catch those enemies off guard, and it's really easy to one-shot somebody if you just do it straight in the center before they can prepare. Tracer can be really difficult to play because she requires very precise aiming on smaller targets to actually deal meaningful damage. Not only that, but she only has 150 max HP, making it much easier to burst her down and catch her off guard. Many players opt for the assassin playstyle when playing with Tracer and try and solo kill enemies. This is fine and great, and it can work out for you, but the better playstyle for Tracer is to try and follow up on your teammates' damage. Whether you have long-range DPS like Widow, Hanzo, maybe even Soldier or Cassidy, you want to try and look to see who they're focusing most of the time, or even just ask in voice, and then just follow up on their damage. It's really easy to finish off a distracted half-health target than it is to finish off a full health target that is not distracted because you're the only one fighting them. So if you find that you have some trouble with the assassin playstyle, make sure you try to focus your teammates' damage instead of just doing everything on your own. Now, the first big tip I have for you with Tracer is learning the maps. This one is very simple, but knowing where every health pack is on the map can save you in so many more ways than you think. Whether it's on Tracer or any other mobile hero, being able to kite around health packs in the enemy backline if you have no long-range supports that can help you is something that almost every high-level Tracer is going to abuse. The second big tip for Tracer is that you shouldn't really be engaging on enemies that aren't already distracted. A great example of this is, say you want to kill the enemy Ana or Zenyatta. If the fight hasn't broken out yet and your team is still regrouping or just poking at the enemy Ana and Zenyatta are going to be on high alert for you. But if you just wait a few more seconds before revealing yourself and shooting at them, they will start healing their teammates and putting more of their focus towards the team fight. As soon as that happens, happens, you can walk as close as you possibly can to them and then try and finish them off quickly with 1 or 2 clips. Now finally, with Tracer, your target prioritization is going to be extremely important. In a scenario where you're facing Ana and Zen, if you engage on the Ana and she gets immediately healed by Zenyatta's orb, chances that you're killing that Ana are now going to be close to 0. Whether she nades herself or, just forces you out by damaging you with the Zenyatta, this means that you have to swap targets immediately. So the next target that you're going to go by is either a DPS or the enemy Zenyatta, and if you swap to Zenyatta and get close to killing him, but Ana nades him and is now fully focusing him, you can again no longer kill that Zenyatta. This means that you need to either swap targets or disengage and then re-engage later whenever the enemies are distracted again. Many players try and force kills like this, and it's really difficult unless you have your pulse bomb. So make sure that you get really good at either disengaging after you distract and fight the enemies, or swapping targets quickly so that you can kill targets that aren't actively getting healed. Kiriko is the newest support in the game, and she can be incredibly strong in the right hands. Her headshot multiplier is tripled, meaning that her kunai can deal 120 damage with a single headshot. Getting really good at positioning to land headshots on your enemies can be a game changer for Kiriko players. Not only for defending themselves, but for picking off enemies and being a pseudo DPS for her team. If you ever played Moira, you know just how strong picking off enemy supports can be for your teammates. To easily position near the enemies and allow yourself to land headshots easily, you want to learn how to play off angles. Off angling simply means that you are positioning yourself to the far left or right flank of your teammates while they are fighting the enemies. Most of the time, DPS players are also going to be doing this, so you may find that enemy DPS are going to be meeting you on these off angles. This should give you an opportunity to fight for a few seconds, and if you need to teleport back to your team and do that, then you should try the other side after you fight the enemy DPS for a few seconds. Speaking of fighting the enemy DPS, a really important thing for Kiriko is not getting caught up in dueling enemies. Primarily, you are a healer, and if you slack on healing for way too long during fights, you're gonna let your teammates die, and that is much worse than you trying to get picks. Now, when you are looking to off angle as Kiriko, you have to look at your other healing composition. So if you have a Lucio or a Zenyatta, you're probably going to spend most of your time healing as Kiriko because they just don't have the healing to support an entire team. But if you have somebody like Ana or maybe even Mercy, you should be able to leave your team for a few seconds, allow your teammates to get healed by the other support for a little bit, and do some damage in the enemy's backline. Using Kiriko's wall climb to also gain positioning is really important. There's so many spots on every single map that she can just climb up to, be in a safe off angle spot and just shoot down on the enemies while also healing her teammates. The next thing is Kiriko's Suzu is a really important part of her kit, and so many people just throw it down whenever their teammates get critical. Anytime you're playing Kiriko, hit tab and look at your enemies. Who they're playing is really important. If they have an Ana and you have a Roadhog, you need to save your Suzu for that specific ability almost every time. Simply identify big cooldowns on the enemy team and then use your Suzu whenever the enemies use those abilities. Lastly, Kiriko's ultimate is something that many people fail to understand. Her ultimate travels in a straight line and ends whenever it hits an obstacle or after 25 meters traveled. This means that you don't want to be in front of your team whenever you're throwing out your ultimate. You want to be a bit behind your teammates and then throw it out so that it goes through your team and into the enemy team. Whenever you're throwing it, you also want to make sure the enemies can't just run away unless you're defending an objective with it, and then that's completely fine because it wastes a ton of time for the team. I see a ton of Kiriko players just playing next to their tank and throwing out their ultimate, and most of the time it becomes useless because the enemies will also ult in response, and then you're going to have to back away from it and nobody behind you is going to be able to use it. So make sure that you're in your backline and then you use it and then you push forward with it instead of using it in the front and then having to fall back with it. That is all for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Christmas is right around the corner, and here at GameLeap, we have a present for you. You can use code SANTA for 50% off your GameLeap subscription. And not only that, if you sign up during this Christmas season, you will have a chance to win a VOD review from one of our top coaches. We will be picking 10 random GameLeap subscribers, so make sure you sign up today if you want to improve now.